This video is going to be about how do you actually talk to prospects? How do you go about doing specifically B2B interactions? What should that look like? How should that feel? Who should be doing the talking? We're specifically going to be focusing on that last one. How does that dynamic play out?
This man Roy Fuchs, this man doesn't lie. This man gives you a special guarantee, warranty. I mean, beautiful. It's up to you. It's your decision. One who hesitates is lost. Hey, where you going, pal? Come back here. Oh. Watch out, you skinhead! Get the hell out of the road.
Hi there. How you doing?
Jeez.
Say, this your $10? You know, I saw it floating underneath the car and picked it up. Here you are, Mr. What's your name?
Stanley Dwowski.
Polish, eh? What a coincidence. Rudy Polanski, how are you? Hey, I like that watch, Stan. Great shoes. Love them.
Thanks.
So, Stan, you want to buy this Buick Centurion, huh? Good choice. Smart man, you got good taste. I'll tell you something a lot of people don't have these days. Nice to see somebody finally walk on this lot who knows a good car when he sees one, I'll tell you. So, we read it up?
Yeah, well, actually, I was just looking.
Oh, hey, terrific. Terrific. That's what we're here for, Stan. Here you can look, browse, peek, touch, feel, taste, smell, do anything you want, take all the time you want. Nobody's going to pressure anybody around here, Stan. You know something, though, Stan? I really think you ought to buy this Buick. Mm-hmm.
When you're talking to a group of people, or if it's a business owner or what have you, the thing is that you really shouldn't be doing too much of the talking. There are certain situations where that's just not possible. If you're talking to a group of people, you're there, they expect you to be doing the talking, you to be doing the pitch. However, for the purposes of this video, what we're talking about is how do you actually talk to that group of people so that you have a positive result at the end of it. The way that that's going to look is you have to ask questions. Now, why do you want to ask questions? Well, it's because you don't want to be doing most of the talking. If you're doing all of the talking, then there's a problem because you're just a greasy salesman at the end of the day. You're just pushing your product, your features, all that usual crap that doesn't work anymore. Old school sales. The way that it has to work is you have to get them, that is to say the prospects, to see exactly crystal clear what kind of issue they're dealing with, why it's an issue, how important that issue is, to amplify that pain. People don't buy into things, they buy out of them. They buy out of a pain. I don't want this problem, I want to get rid of this problem, I want a solution. So you have to basically get them to see that they have a problem, that you have a solution. Now, the way that you're doing that to be able to do it so that you're not the one saying all that and they're the ones saying that is only by asking questions and controlling that conversation. The person that's asking the questions is the one that's controlling the conversations. If you're finding that you're the one that's answering questions and they're asking them, you've lost control of that conversation. That doesn't mean necessarily that you won't close the sale, but it does mean that you don't have control. And that makes it a much more difficult position to be successful from and to be able to get a decision out of. When you are in a meeting or when you're on the phone with these kinds of prospects or for these kinds of meetings, B2B conversations, you want to make sure that you're asking effectively 3 types of questions. What, how, and why questions. If you're asking what, how, and why questions, then you're basically going to be getting responses. And they're not closed questions, they're open-ended. So questions like, well, how are you currently dealing with so-and-so issue? What does that look like? Can you paint that picture for me, right? Why is this so important now? Why is it that you're so worried about doing this now? Or why is this of a concern now? Why do you want to fix this now? These are the types of questions that, not necessarily formulated in that exact way, that you basically want to be asking. So what, how, and why questions primarily are the type of questions that you want to ask. So whatever it is that you're about to say in a statement, try to put it into a question. So that would look like something like, let's say they're asking you, well, what would this service do for us? You could say something like this. Well, if I told you that so-and-so would happen if this service was something that you were using, how would you feel about that? There's a how question. So it's a statement and turned into a question. So I'm basically answering the question, but I'm turning it right back around into a question. That's a simple way to go about doing it. Now, the thing is that in these kinds of interactions, you don't always have all the information available to you. When you go into a B2B interaction, they're not always going to be forthright with you. They're not always going to tell you all of their information. That's why you need to have these kinds of meetings. It doesn't matter if it's a meeting or if it's a phone call, but really when you actually get on the line with them and you actually start talking and it's not just emails or anything like that, they're going to tend to open up more to you. When they do that, they'll actually tell you what really is going on, and that's why you need to have those conversations. It's almost impossible to close a deal just by email without ever having talked to them, without ever having had any kind of real communication directly with them by phone, in person, especially if it's a larger deal. Imagine buying a home without ever actually having talked to anybody and only buying a home by email. You wouldn't do that. Same would be by a car. You'd probably want to get some pictures. You'd probably want to talk to them, see if they're legit, see if it's a real person and it's a real company. That's the whole idea behind it. So the idea here is that when you have these meetings, you want to actually figure out what's really going on. You want to establish that fairly quickly. The only way you can do that is with questions. So again, it goes back to having questions that you want to know answers to, being ready to go with those, and then whatever they're going to ask you as a question that would then turn into you going on this whole rant and disrupting that balance of who's in control and who's asking questions and flipping that around so they start asking the questions. That's not what you want to do. You want to maintain control of your conversation by asking the questions, being the one in control, and knowing how to flip that around. First, establish what's really going on, what's the pain, and then throughout that, use it to be able to flip them around from the one that's trying to, from you selling to them and to them selling you on why they should work with you. That's effectively what you're doing. That's the way that you get really going from just being another sales guy with features and benefits to somebody that actually really understands, and you're letting them talk, you're letting them speak about what's really going on, what their concerns are, and then having that addressed. If you do this correctly, then they're basically going to feel like you really understand them. You really get what their position is, and it's not just, here's what I have, does this fit? It's more like a doctor, something I've referenced in other videos. So you really want to have that sort of approach where, well, here's the symptoms. Based on that, how would you feel if I told you that a good solution would be this? Do you think that would be a fit? That's kind of the structure, right? We'll go into it a bit more, but I want to hear from you guys. How do you feel about that? Have you tried something like this? Have you noticed that just doing, here's the features, here's what our product does, here's what our service does? Do you feel that works well? I want to hear from you. Leave some comments below. Let me know if you found this video helpful. Leave a comment below. And for sure, it really helps the YouTube algorithm if you guys can leave a like. And if you haven't subscribed already, by all means do subscribe. And you'll be updated about future videos, especially if you hit that bell icon, then you'll know that something hot just came off the press. I've been a little bit behind with videos before. I figured out some new camera settings, so hopefully these videos are looking a bit sharper. And there's a lot more to come, including a course that I'm preparing specifically on business-to-business sales. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Over and out.